I'm Forrest Griffin.
Brian Caraway.
And Lisa Tate.
What's up, guys? This is Joseph Benavidez, UFC flyweight.
Hi, this is Greg Jackson, and you're listening to It's MMAzing, and that is an amazing pun.
Get it? Like MMA, but amazing? MMAzing.
Radio.
Welcome to It's MMAzing Radio. I am your host, Dr. Law. With me, as always, DJ Mark.
What's up?
Also joining us this week, not Lavender Gooms, but the man himself.
He's rarely with us now.
Yeah, Kid Presentable is back. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, fellas. I actually watched my first UFC card in a while with you in person. A thing we haven't done in some time. So I figured I got thoughts, but honestly, you guys know from the pre-show, I'm a little disappointed to be here because, there's a running theme on these shows about pick supremacy. One of us has never held the crown. It's a very tight race this year, and I was coming here to, give my support and a little ribbing of all y'all.
Well,
Mike for never having had it. You guys, if you blow it to Mike, the guy who's never won before, you're gonna let that guy win?
You know what? There was if we had ended this on that pay-per-view, it would have ended with Mark and I tied for first and Mike in sole possession of last place. That's almost the best case scenario, if you ask me. As I explained,
you had a number card with multiple championships on it, but you want to end picking on some guys that can't even be on the undercard of the big pay-per-view.
I don't know what happened, but it was like we just kind of decided, okay, we're doing that. Yeah, we haven't done this. We got together and watched. I think the last time we did it was for John Jones and Dominic Reyes in February 2020. It was the last time we all got together and watched fights on the pay-per-view. So
yeah, probably.
Let's see who doesn't fight anymore after that, because that's what happens. Who's your bet first?
There's a new photo challenge of post a photo of yourself from fan and how happy you were and how oblivious you were before everything that was about to come. Or 2019.
2020.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Pandemic starts. I don't know anymore.
Yeah. Internet has been a little choppy for me today, guys. We'll power through. Marcus, let's get into it, though. Actually, you know what, Stefan? Let's get into it. Let's go with you this one. Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier. For a fight that went, I think it went 2.5 rounds. Did it make it? It was in the third.
It was the third, yeah.
Yeah. For a fight where an entire second round was spent with one guy just on top of another. Pretty goddamn exciting, huh?
To it, but I haven't seen a lot of cards lately, but I think we could call that first round at least a candidate for a round of the year, right?
Oh yeah.
Those guys were really scrapping. I think the commentators were constantly saying, don't expect us to go long, right? You guys were saying this isn't going to go the distance. They were really hitting each other. Oliveira's hands look great. He really wanted that Thai plum. You could see he was chasing that knee. Dustin, his boxing has been great for a minute now. Those left straights. He was tagging Oliveira. I think he dropped him at one point. Maybe it wasn't a clean drop. It might have just been a counter with a kick there. It might have been a slip. Oliveira did end up on his back. He did end up a little punched up. It was a hell of a round. The second round was more of the same until Oliveira started mixing in the grappling.
What was that roll? That's the big story. Second round.
He got the back, but it was incomplete, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have both the hooks in. He was trying to chase something, and then at some point he grabbed the arm and was going for like a gogo or omoplata, right?
Yeah.
Or just at least threatening it. And then what you said, Bob, is Dustin Poirier does this inexplicable roll. I don't know that he had to get out because Oliveira was really low on the arm. He didn't have the body whatsoever. It didn't seem like he could really threaten anything, but obviously Dustin was respecting Charles's grappling game the whole night. When he had a chance to go with him in the ground from the knockdown, he let him back up because he didn't want to mess with it. So it could have been a case of him over-respecting Charles' game, but in any case, that turned out to be very costly because, Oliveira took the top control, and he pretty much finished the round there, right? In substantially 3.5 minutes. You guys were saying maybe it could be a 10-8 even coming out of that round.
Yeah, that was weird. I like that he was kept covering Dustin's mouth and making it difficult for him to recover down there at all, even though not a lot of action was taking place. So he looked much worse for the wear, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, and then I don't totally remember the sequence in the third. It did result in but once again Oliveira took his back, and this time he was really riding him. And it kind of, you started to feel like Dustin really wasn't doing anything. He was just carrying him too. He wasn't putting his weight on the fence. He wasn't taking it to the ground. We were even saying like, you got to kind of maybe just do a Hail Mary, spike his head to the ground and hope you knock him out. But Oliveira, he changed the grip a couple times and he worked it, and he tapped Dustin. It was pretty clean. Eventful in the first round, but Oliveira, for a lot, I saw a lot of people picking against him coming into this fight, and that's no disrespect to him so much as it is respect for Dustin. But I think Charles is really establishing, like, he might just be the cream of the crop.
That quitter label, it's after these last couple fights, Marcus, where like in both of them, both the title victory over Michael Chandler and the this one against Dustin, where in the first round of both fights, he was hurt. Like, he got stunned in both of these first rounds, and he came back from both of them. Really, it's hard to tag him with that quitter label anymore, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in both fights, he's fighting top competition that easily won the rounds. I think with Chandler, that was probably even a 10-8 round because he really had him close to being finished there. And, I mean, for me, the fight itself was spectacular, and the tactical mistakes made in the second and ultimately succumbing to the finish in the third doesn't take away from that. But I guess, did you guys, Steph probably doesn't know this because I didn't catch it during the fight, but do you know the controversy, Bobby?
Yeah, the gloves. He grabbed his gloves, that thing?
Yeah, I didn't notice it at all in the time of, because it was, when he was going for that omoplata, he was holding the inside of the glove, which I didn't see at all. And referee of the year, Herb Dean, also eagle eyes, didn't see it either. I mean, and I don't think that would have changed much of the fight.
Yeah, it wasn't a deciding factor, I don't think, in anything.
No, the tactical mistake was Charles was also holding on to that ankle while he was doing that. He was trying to keep him in place, and then Dustin went for that roll, and that action completely changed the course of the fight. Because Dustin was doing good. The stand-up was very close, but I think he was getting a little bit of the better of the exchanges, even though Charles was starting to counter. He was doing good work to the body. But then, once he got on the ground, like, Dustin kind of froze up. And I mean, rightfully so. I think some people have criticized Poirier for not really trying to scramble on the bottom, try to get back to standing. He really just basically put up a triangle and guard and just tried to hold Charles down, which allowed him to, like you said, Bob, put the hand over the mouth, try to, disrupt the breathing, land some good elbows, and just wear Dustin in the third round.
With that second round, sorry, but like him getting criticism for that, I feel a lot of those people have not watched Charles Oliveira fight, because I feel those scrambles is where Charles Oliveira really, like, you put you in Fucksville. Like, that's where Charles's insanely long limbs come into play. And like, Dustin had a lot of, look, the second round didn't go well, obviously, but all things considered, I think he was making a tactical decision there not to get caught in some, wild shit by Charles at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have scrambled, he could have easily given up his back and gotten choked out in the second instead of the third. But it did seem pretty clear, early on in the third, Dustin does have this one combination that he goes to probably too much, where he starts with a left straight and then follows up with the right hook, sometimes shifting stances in between the strikes. Charles had that scouted, and when he tried going for it in the third, which he threw really hard, he ducked right under. And then once he had that body lock, it did seem like Dustin was just kind of like mentally not there to compete. And it did remind me a lot of when he fought Habib. Like, the will just wasn't there to do another round of just getting grappled and holding on for dear life. And what happened. So yeah, you can't take anything away from Charles. He did a fantastic job. That first round was amazing. And a small tactical mistake is all it takes at this high level, especially in this weight class with the talent level that we see, to really change the course of the fight. So
I was gonna say, man, this weight class, we were talking about it last night, and I've said it many times. You just pick any two guys in the top 10 at lightweight, we're gonna have a fucking good time. Like, these guys, this whole weight class, like, the best weight classes are 170 and down, and 155 and 135, I think, are probably the best weight classes, and 155 is probably the best, in my opinion, at least. I think most people have one of those weight classes. 45 is great too, obviously, as a 70. Charles is.
I think it's because at that size, kind of as modern MMA, all the weight classes have shifted down one, right? why is light heavyweight so dry is because they all got in shape and became middleweights. The middleweights all got in shape, became welterweights, and downward. So this is 155. I mean, you guys may have made this point at some point or another, but like at 155 is where you get all the pool of athletes who have not been picked out by basketball, by football, by, like all those, where you get these high other level physical athletes. Well, what do the 5'5" to 5'10" guys do, right?
Absolutely.
And lightweight is kind of where they find a home.
Yeah, well, if you were 210 pounds and a great athlete, like, the fuck are you gonna, like, come on, man. You want to get paid, right? There's a reason when, like, not justifying it, but when Greg Hardy's going to join the UFC, like, rolls with it because they're like, oh my God, we got a 260-pound super athlete, like, what the, and he's, American? That's why that's part of the reason we do this shit.
I think it helps that there's, our school system here in the States, those are collegiate sports that you can start getting into early on, and I think that's why you see a lot of, Ukrainian people, because like Sambo in wrestling is a lot bigger there than it is here in the States. I mean, there is wrestling, and we definitely have seen, collegiate athletes from that sport transition into MMA in great numbers. But, if you're an athletic teenager, you kind of have your run of basketball, baseball, football, potentially, soccer, if you will. But like, these are things that, not only, because you can't just be great at any sport just because you're athletic. Like, it takes, perseverance and skill and talent, but those things are kind of easier to get into through, the educational system,
Absolutely.
So it'd be cool if, high schools and middle schools started doing like jujitsu or submission grappling. I don't think striking like boxing will ever come.
Not in a world where we don't want kids getting hit in the head in football already. So
yeah, I mean that's like the double-edged sword, right? Like, here's this country. It's like, oh, you could say like about violence. Everyone has a fucking gun, and you can talk about head injuries. Well, here's like football players. They're going to take 20 yards to run at each other and go in for head first. But I definitely understand that viewpoint. But yeah, you guys make good points. And I think 55 is just that perfect mix of all those things.
So it's pretty clear Justin Gaethje's next.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah, sure. Sounds awesome, right? Like, he's gonna have to do those leg kicks and not let Charles grab him. I think that's gonna be the key to that fight. Honestly, like, this is gonna be the leg kick bonanza for Justin Gaethje. Just my 2 cents.
I mean, it's compelling because we've seen in multiple Charles fights. This is not a guy that is at such a high skill level that he doesn't have weaknesses. He gets tagged. Like, he's very hittable. He does not move his head very much. With a guy like Justin Gaethje, it's like, can he take those hits? Can he, if Gaethje mixes up with the calf kicks and the low kicks, is he going to be able to withstand that type of, stand-up barrage? I think Gaethje's takedown defense might be a little bit better, although, like, when you look at even at this fight, it's not really because Charles took him down at will. A lot of times he was getting knocked down, and Dustin would have to choose to engage. And I think that's where ultimately, what happened the second round. The third round, he did. He got his back, and that was good on him. So I think it's a very compelling fight. If Charles can get through that, he's really undeniable at that point.
This is very much the Robbie Lawler-like title reign, where we're like, every one of these fights is going to be some level of peril, the way this man fights. Connor said he deserves a title shot with Charles, but that's just Connor talking. Okay. Steph, do you think... look, as much as none of us really need to see it again, Dustin just lost his fight. Dustin likes money. This is his second title shot in 2 years with him. Does this give us more likely we're going to watch him and Conor fight a fourth time as his next matchup?
I mean,
it's always there.
It depends. It's there. You guys mentioned it too with Nate is there, right? And Nate has only one left. Like, I don't know what type of luster Conor has right now. Like, his hardcores will always be his hardcores, but again, as I've kind of stepped away from the MMA scene, even the casuals are souring on Conor McGregor. They're like, I said it to you guys when we were hanging out, like, his whole shtick relies on his bravado. His bravado relies on him being successful, and he hasn't been that in a while. And not only is he losing, he's getting finished. He's having a horrifically broken leg that stands out in people's eyes. It's like, he's not losing closely, right? When he's losing, it's the clear deficiencies in his game. And so
he needs a W. Get him back. Give him some
momentum, right?
Yeah.
Him getting that shoulder strike on Cerrone that one time, that reignited a lot of flames for the guy.
We all love Nate, but the Nate fight makes more sense to me than Dustin right now is fighting at a different level than Connor. Nate's fighting once a year. Nate's kind of like
Dustin is still right near the top of title contention. And
you know,
one thing
a lot of people are saying
favor,
people are saying they want if Connor's not fighting for a while, Dustin versus Nate, which has been booked 2 or 3 times and never came to be. Some combination of those 3 guys sounds like a good time. You know, we're in the entertaining fight section for them, I guess, on some level. I don't know.
Sure,
Dustin's not getting another shot. So right now. Mm-hmm.
Right now, but I was going to say, like, one thing going for him, he could also just be 1 or 2 fights away from being right back there because, you know, one of the kind of narrative points I heard, and is impressive for as long tenured as both those guys have been in the UFC at both featherweight and lightweight, this is the first time they ever fought, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we don't want to do 3 because we've seen this twice already, right? So we've seen the inexplicable rematch has happened before. It's easy to do it like 1 because you could just say, "Oh, we don't know what that first one. That first one could have been a fluke." So you can always argue
the glove.
for the second pretty easily. So yeah, there's enough controversy there. Or I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, honestly, I saw it
change things, but Dustin, he could win 1 fight and be right back here again, right? Like he doesn't need to start doing like freak show stuff.
Yeah, what's Michael Chandler?
And that's what I call Connor now.
Okay, Michael Chandler and Dustin could be a good time too. Again, pick 2 lightweights. Marcus, I mean, we probably should have led the show off with this now that I think about this, because Juliana Pena went out there and shocked the fucking world. She was a plus 600 underdog against a minus 1,000 favorite. That gap makes me a little sad because the casinos really raked that in there. But she finished Amanda Nunes. Like, that's amazing.
I can't come out here and say, like, oh, I knew it, I told you so, but I did defend when there was
we called her an
lots of
asshole.
criticism.
You didn't
but
defend.
you also said there was no chance. You know, what is she going to do? How the hell does she do this? And I said, and Bobby, go back and listen to it. Fans, go back and listen to it. I defended her. I didn't say it was likely, and I did not pick her. So I can't, come out here and wave a banner. Because I was pretty surprised. But, I mean, what we've known of Julia Pena is that she is very tough. And I think just a lot of things lined up for her in this fight with Amanda. I think Amanda doing really well in the first round. She was outstriking her. I think she dropped Julia. That ultimately led her to be on top and control that second round, which also might have gassed her,
First round.
In the first round, sorry. Yeah. And then, after the fact, people kind of, analyzing the fight have reminded me, I guess Amanda Nunes had a bad spat of COVID. We've known a handful of fighters that have, and some of them haven't really seen any effect. Maybe this affected her. I think ultimately, from what I saw in the fight, just watching it the one time, Juliana really started getting in the pocket and exchanging punches, which in the first round she seemed very timid to do. She seemed unwilling to kind of get in there and really let her hands go. In the second round, when she did, she was able to land on Amanda. And Amanda was able to land too. And I think that's kind of that her being able to get shots back kind of led her to believe I hit harder than Julia does. I'm going to win this exchange at some point. And as the exchanges kept going, she wasn't tagging Pena enough to see the effects really take effect. Whereas Amanda started to slow down. And then once Pena was able to get her on the ground, the tank was kind of empty and she kind of just, let it happen.
Yeah, I watched it again, and I was just kind of came out of it thinking, like, was this poor fight IQ by the greatest female fighter ever? Where I was just like, it was a good, like, minute of them just swinging, it felt like. And then it looked like Juliana was wearing all the damage, and Amanda wasn't. But clearly she was hurt, because the second Juliana got her down and had that choke in, Amanda was done. So I don't know if she got her bell rung, and that's why she didn't consider maybe I should try to shoot or something earlier on in this. But it really was almost a case of, like, Juliana wanted this more. Like, Juliana was not going to go down. It kind of felt like she was every moment of, like, this was the biggest moment of her life, and this was just another fight for Amanda Nunes, huh? Like,
yeah,
that just
yeah.
felt like...
I mean, yeah, I think bravado in her head. I mean, when you just look at what Amanda's been able to do, she's beaten much better strikers than Julia Pena. She's beaten better grapplers. She's beaten women that are better all around. And in my head, I just kind of think, like, yeah, she because, like, when she fought Durandamine, like, when she wasn't winning on the ground, she just took that fight. She wasn't winning standing up. I mean, she took the fight to the ground. She's smart enough to know, like, okay, if I'm not doing well here, let's try something else. And that didn't really click in this fight. And again, I think it's because in these exchanges, she's landing shots and she can see Pena's wearing it, but it was just like at a certain point, we were both saying like, okay, she needs to take this fight to the ground. Like, why continue to do this? Even though maybe you think you're getting the better of it, maybe you think eventually you're going to land that big kibosh and take her down. It's just like, this is too risky. Why not use the ultimate, the nullifier, take her down, get on top, control the round, win that round, regroup in the corner for the next one. But yeah, that's just how it plays out. And I think some people have been saying that Pena's not. I just saw an article of Bisping saying like, this isn't the biggest upset. Amanda Nunes will win the rematch, and it's like, that kind of means it's a big upset. Like when you think the other person's still going to win after they lose. I mean, I think the only other one that comes to mind is Matt Serra. And
in the UFC, the biggest one for me is Matt Serra, GSP. Well, no, in the second fight, because I remember people thought Frankie beating BJ was like that because of how the first fight played out. But then we all learned, no, he's just better than him. So maybe that's it. I mean, I was going to ask you, Steph. Amanda was minus 1,000 going into this. Obviously, when you don't lose for fucking 6 years, you're going to get be that kind of favorite. But if they fight again, what kind of favorite are you expecting out of Amanda Nunes? Because we agree she's the favorite, but how much you thinking, really?
350.
I was going to say between 3, maybe around 3 or 4. That's what I was thinking.
Still decisively. I think people will, I think it's hard if you've watched Amanda's play. We all have the same takeaway, right? Something weird about that fight. Something weird about how they just stood there, right? I think I joked with you, Mark, is all they need to do is grab a single clinch, and we got Don Fry all over again because they're just standing there trading on each other. Like, no one's stepping out, no one's weaving. We're just both throwing hands and seeing like who gets the better of it. And it didn't go great for Amanda. And then when she went down, she was just so gassed or something else because she didn't fight off that choke attempt. She really, you just saw it sliding in. Here it goes. Let me readjust my hands. Still not fighting it. Still not trying to break the body control at all. Like, it just kind of happened to her, and it was just so weird because you've seen Amanda do so much more than that. But yeah, because even obviously she's totally warranted of a immediate rematch. But if say something delays that, and you said, oh well, if we do Valentina, and Valentina's got to be foaming, she can get that second belt now because Valentina can smoke Pena too, no problem.
Yeah, we already saw it. Like, she did it once already.
So yeah, I don't personally care for Juliana Pena that much. You call her an asshole. Like, she's never seemed particularly likable to me.
Yeah, she had some wonderful quotes after this thing. Some of them it was just like, she's just like, I'm the real first woman mom champion because I gave birth to my child, and I'm like, even if you believe that, what was that necessary? Like, you don't say that unless you're trying to hurt someone's feelings.
And it's an inadvertent stray because the only person who's really been chasing that mom champ title is Michelle Watterson, who has nothing to do with it. She's the only one who's really been pushing for it. Like, that's her whole thing, that she wants to be that. I don't think Amanda was out here yelling mom champ.
Also, Chris Cyborg, where are we drawing a line here? Chris Cyborg adopted her niece and was raising her. Where are we drawing a line here, man? I'm just saying. Like, also, I don't know. The pay-per-view literally...
that doesn't count either.
Yeah, the pay-per-view started with, good love of God, we saw Amanda and Nina walking in with their child, hand in hand. It was the cutest shit ever. Like, come on, man. But fuck, man, she shocked the world. Props to Juliana. If nothing else, she's going to get a big paycheck. Hopefully she got a decent one on this one, and she's going to get a big one on the next one. And, she's a single mom, man, so good for her. It's going to help, if you fight to make money. So congratulations to her. The rest of these ones we can go a little faster through. Ponzinibbio and Jeff Neal, Mark. I really thought this was going to be a lot better than it was. Like, the last 3 minutes was fun, but up until that point, it was a lot of, like, just happening. Like, nothing was even, like, relevant that I remember.
I mean, I think this was definitely when I was digging into the wings that Steph brought. I was not paying super close attention. I know there was constant arguing about eye pokes.
Yeah.
Like, there was constantly, like, stopping and, like, you're poking me in the eye. No, you're poking. I was confused. I mean, in the third round, they eventually did kind of get to it. It was, like, I think it was a pretty close fight from what I vaguely remember. Jeff Neal got the W. It definitely seems like the highlights of Ponzinibbio's career might be behind him. I hate to say that because I talk often about like how we shouldn't, count guys out. We don't know what's left in the tank, but I think, what is he like? He's kind of in his late 30s, right?
Is he that old?
I thought so. I thought he was mid to late 30s, and
he's
I thought
35. He's got 30. Yeah, maybe
too bad. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed like at one point earlier on in his career, he was definitely skyrocketing forward, and he had those long layoffs, and now a couple, lackluster performances have really, I think, kind of put the kibosh on potentially
Jeff's a
what
good fighter, but I don't think even Jeff looked that good in this one either. I don't think either one of them looked particularly good when this was over.
It was like a tactical, not super.
And Jeff gave us the classic, I was waiting for someone to push me to 3 rounds. Like, okay, man. No, it was just not good. It's not a good fight. Kai Kara France, Cody Garbrandt, or Steve France, as Cody Garbrandt was calling him for some reason incorrectly, which was weird. I mean, Steph, what is there to say except Cody's got no chin, and his name probably has enough value that Kai Kara France can probably build off this a little bit, huh? Still? A little bit?
Biggest win of his career.
Yeah.
I told you, I know the name Kai Kara France, but I probably wouldn't have been able to pick him out of a lineup. In my head, I was picturing a guy with longer, shaggier hair. It was not this guy, so clearly I thought he was someone else. But again, he's a recognizable name because I know he's had multiple fights. But speaking of people I don't really feel fondly of, I should credit this win to Kai Kara France's skill, but I credit to karmic retribution because Cody Garbrandt is forever the asshole who wanted to fight the flight attendant.
And filmed it himself. Like he thought he was gonna look good.
I mean, we have a country of people who film themselves thinking they're the hero, and God bless them because that gives us all these idiots content. But he seemed shot at 135, dropping down additional weight, which is a more significant percentage of your body mass at this size. That didn't seem like a great plan. Like, if anything, you should go the opposite direction of the Robert Whittaker thing, where you don't kill yourself with a weight cut. You do get to put on a little heavier because, they say, all you can really do is dehydrate yourself at that point, and that makes you only more knockoutable. So maybe it was just a Hail Mary, right? Maybe he just thought he was too small to go up. Why not try going down? It very clearly did not work out. What is he lost now? 4 of 5, 4 of 6,
5 of 6. The only one he won was that one with a Sunsao that wasn't going particularly well, and he pulled the right hand out of his left pocket and went with an overhand that caught Rafael there. He's got to do some reevaluating, man. He's
got power, right? Yeah. The power hasn't gone away, but what has gone away is the durability and just his general movement and speed, right? Maybe it was just a flash in the pan performance of his career, but Dominic, he looked unhittable. Suddenly he was the matador, right?
Yeah.
And we have never quite seen that version of him ever since. So remember, he had the back issues. He would echo the sentiment of you just got incurable shitty back issues now. You take painkillers and do some yoga and stretching, and that's the best you can hope for. But I have really no idea where this guy goes from here. There's a lot of soul searching to be done.
Sean O'Malley continued his if you're not gonna he says you got to pay me to fight top ranked fighters tour. So they're not doing that. And Dana's covering the whole story up by saying, oh, he's not ready yet. They don't want to pay him. So instead,
I give shouts to O'Malley as a businessman. He's a young kid. He's a knucklehead. But he does get the business side of the thing because all I remember from this fight is that at the end, he called this guy the toughest opponent of his career. And I had never heard of this man, never seen this man before. But you want to build him up as the greatest challenge of your life thus far? I respect it.
Yeah, and but like Sean O'Malley's got some buzz, man, and like I do like what he said. People were complaining that this was on the main card, but not Dominic Cruz versus Pedro Munoz. And then O'Malley said, if they thought Dominic Cruz and Pedro Munoz could sell more pay-per-views than me, they would be on the main card. And I'm like, well, kid gets it. He understands all of this. Not even a question. Big win for him, I guess, Mark. I mean, he keeps racking up W's. He did just lose a couple fights ago, right?
Well, he lost in his last fight. He put it on the guy, but did not finish him. And I think that did take a little bit of his luster away.
Remember, the guy just took the most shots ever, and then Dan.
Did he finish him late in the third or something?
Dan just kind of got bored and stopped it. The guy was taking abuse for 13 minutes.
Well, it definitely seemed like, he had a aura around him that, like, this guy has fucking power. Like, this guy puts people away. And I think in that fight where he wasn't really, the guy took his best shots, and he was there, pretty much the whole way. And in this fight, in the first round, it definitely seemed like, maybe Sean just doesn't quite have the power that we thought he did. So I think getting the finish is important for his branding, for, what he's trying to build with his career. And it's kind of hard, eventually, whether he gets the money he wants or not, you can't constantly fight non-ranked fighters and have the fan base continue. Look, we've talked at length about MVP and about like, this guy's really good, but without fighting the competition, we don't really have a good measuring stick to how great he can be, and we all love seeing cans get crushed. But at a certain point, you want to see if someone's legit and can really make a run and see them really tested. So hopefully we get there with Sean, and hopefully it is because the UFC does see value in him. I think that's apparent.
That was his 8th fight in the UFC, not counting the Contender Series.
That's a lot of fights.
He's 7-1 with 6 knockouts. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the math here, right? No, 5 knockouts. 5 knockouts. He has that wonderful decision win over Andre Sukumtov, which Stefan's a big fan of pointing out that Andre seemed to forget that my man had a messed up leg and then did nothing about it, if I remember correctly. Was that the one?
Mm.
He just did nothing.
The dumbest fight IQ of all time.
Yeah. We'll see where we go from here. Josh Emmett, Dan Ige. Man, Josh Emmett got to throw more than that overhand right, Mark. Like, it works, but you got to throw more shit. Like, he got out of this one close.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a powerful tool there, and he needs to understand how to utilize it better. You can't just throw it out and hope the guy's going to walk into it. You do have to set it up. He has a good wrestling base. He has a lot of the skill sets you need to be successful, and I think sometimes it's gotten to him to look very promising. But this fight wasn't particularly great. Dan Ige did, I think, in the 3rd round really kind of put it on. But Josh had good success early on and was able to get the decision.
Dan took the 2nd for sure.
Was
and
that
the judge who gave the 2nd round to Josh should not be judging fights.
That's right, because someone gave him all 3.
Yeah,
and it was a little.
When they said all 3, I'm like, I don't know, man.
Okay. Now they remind me, like, Josh started doing better towards the later half, but he definitely didn't win that round. And we both said, like, when the round ended, he put his arms up, and a judge not knowing better just be like, he's confident.
I've told you guys, that is my rule. You put your hands up, it's going to influence people. Fight of the night was Dominic Cruz, Pedro Munoz, which was a little weird. It was a fine fight. Dominic got hit immediately and got dropped and lost the first round. But pretty much won everything after he got up from getting dropped. So he was able to turn it into a 10-9. And then the next 2 rounds was just Dominic Cruz being Dominic Cruz. In and out, hitting the guy, hitting him good too, but Dominic just doesn't have power. We know this. Like, Dominic is not a power striker. He's a volume striker. It's just, Dominic's gotten a little bit older, and he doesn't move as well as he used to. So he'll get caught sometimes, but his movement is still a real problem for these guys if they can't catch him. And Pedro's a good fighter, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big win. Personally, like, I wasn't super enthralled because, it very much seemed like Pedro kind of got lucky in the first round, and then when he didn't take Dominic out, it was just really like he didn't have much strategy. This is a Dominic fight now. On how to replicate the success early in the first round, and Dominic was able to then to just basically control the fight with his footwork and his pace, and his strikes. And he did land some hard shots, but it is one, especially with a guy like Pedro who's very tough too. It's like
has Pedro been put out before? I don't know if I remember Pedro getting put out very often.
Dominic just doesn't really sit down on his punches to generate the kind of power you need to really hurt Pedro. But he has fast hands, and he's in it. He gets in and out very quickly and very smoothly. So
7
good
losses,
performance on him.
All by decision for Pedro Munoz. So that wasn't the guy that he was going to lose, to get knocked out by Dominic Cruz. 7 losses, all by decision for Pedro Munoz. 35 years old, older than I thought he was too. Tai Tuivasa, I don't think any of you guys saw this one really against Augusto Sakai. I got a little worried. Yeah, I got a little worried. Augusto Sakai just looked like a bigger version of Tai Tuivasa when they stood next to each other. Tai knocked him out the way Tai knocks people out. He did a shoey on top of the thing. Did another shoey while going to the back. He didn't spit in the shoe, so at least, that's better. Nobody fucking spiked it with hot sauce like last time. That was disgusting. He said he's won 4 straight, and they said now he might be ranked number 11, but I was just like, this is heavyweight. You win 4 straight. Give the man a title shot. Like, I don't care who he beat.
That used to be it.
Yeah, that's what do you want him to do? By the way, I'm now to remember this. The person who stole Charles Oliveira's glasses off his face while he was walking to the back, and then Charles stopped to be like, I need my fucking glasses. And then they dropped the glasses onto the floor, and then that's where the pay-per-view ended. Like, it just went dark on Charles on the ground in the arena looking for his glasses. And I was like,
we got to turn the camera off before the beating comes, Bobby. We can't put that on film.
It was a good card though, man. I mean, the pay-per-views are loaded. The UFC's got a good roster. Probably too many fighters. making us watch all this bullshit between these fight cards, but Ryan
Look,
Hall
man,
got a win.
what made it a great card was we each had 10 wings from Wingstop, couple flavors. We got those fries. Well, not the regulars. You get the extra seasoning out there. If y'all get Wingstop, get the extra seasoning on your fries. That'll turn your good sporting event into your great sporting event.
Steph got the wings, and then he said, like, I like them with extra seasoning or whatever. So, like, you all got it because I don't want to get bamboozled with one of your guys' shitty fries.
Yeah, I was like, I
get my good ones.
He takes the extra seasoning fries.
That was really good.
You can't complicate shit at. You can't complicate that order at Wingstop too, man. That place could be chaotic. Just saying, depending on which one you go to.
One last complaint. I don't know why your Wingstop is more expensive than my Wingstop. Is your Wingstop $1.85 better than my Wingstop? Why is it more expensive, guys?
That's a fair point. Rent is expensive at that Wingstop. That's what it is. Fight of the night: Dominic Cruz, Pedro Munoz. Performance bonuses to Oliveira, Pena, Kaikara, France. Sean O'Malley, Tai Tuivasa, and we didn't talk about him, but Bruno Silva also getting a finish. Eric Anders got armbarred. Eric Anders lost a fight in the first round. Weird. Doesn't normally work like that with that guy. That was it. I guess we can just make our picks for the next. I don't know what news happened, really. I got Dominic Cruz. That whole Dominic Cruz, Daniel Cormier thing, where we were trying to figure out if the commentators hate each other. I mean, that was pretty entertaining to me. Mostly because of the video where Daniel Cormier interviews Dominic, and he tells him, like, Dom, you don't have to go public with your criticisms of my commentary. And then Dominic was just like, I'm just giving it's accountability. I'm just, doing that.
Like Dominic didn't seem to understand, like, on the record versus off the record.
Yeah,
he's like, sometimes we talk in private. We don't have to say public. He's like, I never said anything privately that I wouldn't want you to say publicly. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you didn't, but maybe I did. So,
yeah, the whole video is actually pretty entertaining. You learn that Dominic seems to lack basic social skills, but at the same time, you don't believe a word of DC saying he watches film either. So, and then Michael Bisping showing up in the middle just to sit between them and laugh. Really a highlight for me. And I learned that Bisping's got 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, so good for Bisping. DC's only got like 120,000. So Mike's not here, and we ended this fight card with Mark and I with the same record, and Mike is one fight back. We probably should have ended on this pay-per-view, but we're gonna pick a few fights on this card that's this weekend, and we're not looking at Mike's picks until we've made our picks, just to be fair. So yeah, let's just knock these out real quickly.
Yes, sir.
Trying to look at Mike's picks right now. I don't remember the account password anymore.
Derrick Lewis, Chris Daukaus. Big meaty men slapping meat at heavyweight here. Chris is the favorite in this fight with his 11-1 overall record. He is minus 140 to Derrick's plus 120. Derrick coming off of that pretty one-sided ass whooping at the hand of Cyril Gane while in Houston. Kind of embarrassing for him. Marcus, how are we decide? You want to make your pick first? Want to make my pick first? How do you want to do this, buddy?
I'll make my pick first. I'm gonna make it interesting because I really don't care if I win this stupid championship. I already got 2 under the belt. I'm gonna go with Chris. It's not a good pick. I mean, he might be the favorite.
He's got a lot of knockouts, buddy.
Yeah, he's on a 4-fight win streak. But really, it's just like, some of these guys I'm somewhat familiar with. Aleskic, Onik, who's a common opponent, and I think Chris beat him quicker. I just want to make it exciting. I think the easy pick would be Derrick Lewis. We're much more familiar with him.
He's an underdog.
Yeah, but fighting a striker, he's done fairly well. I mean, even if you say like, oh, he's coming off a loss. I mean, he lost to Cyril Gane, who could easily be the champion, coming in another couple months or so. So I don't really put a lot of stock there. But I want to make it interesting. Okay. Potentially give Mike a chance to get back in here too, because I'd imagine he's taking Derrick. But this could also seal my fate as a champion, and that's kind of what I did on this last card. I took some risky picks and made up some ground. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with this Chris character, and let's see what happens there.
And our tiebreaker is when this fight ends. What do you got?
I'll go. See, if Chris is gonna probably win, it'll probably in the later rounds. In the later rounds, I mean third round.
Okay, we'll pick a time. So we're gonna try who's closest.
Okay,
write this down because you're about to put on the thing too.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I don't even need to tell you. Maybe you listener have to go to the website to see what time I pick. I'll do 3 minutes and 48 seconds.
3 minutes 40 seconds. It's into it.
Round 3. Yep.
So that means with a minute and 12 left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I got Derrick Lewis. I got him 3 minutes into the second round. This is where Mike's going to win, picking Derrick Lewis like a fucking minute into the fight. Bilal Muhammad.
I think it's fair that you chose the finish as a tiebreaker. I was going to come in and I was going to say your tiebreaker should be whoever gets closest to Spider-Man's weekend box office number.
Oh, that's going to do well.
Stefan, if you remember, earlier on this year, we did have if Jake Paul beats Ben Askren, we get 10, and I picked Jake Paul to win. I should be 9 ahead of everybody.
I'm right.
By the way, I realized we could have picked that.
You won this walking away if we properly honored the Jake Paul bet.
You know what we could have done? I realized that just earlier on. I'm like, we could have picked that fight. That's this weekend too.
Yeah.
By the way, Davin Woodley. But anyway,
you'll pick it. Mike won't pick it. I'll pick it. Taking Jake Paul, baby.
Bilal Muhammad and Wonderboy Thompson. Wonderboy, last time we saw him fight, I think he lost, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, lost to Gilbert Burns back at UFC 264. Bilal lost. Oh no, I didn't know he came back from that Edwards fight. Beat Damian Maia back at UFC 263. I got Wonderboy. He's a minus 250 favorite. I got Wonderboy. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not going to make this one interesting. Yeah, I just think Wonderboy's a better fighter. He's fought in better competition, and even his last loss against Gilbert Burns, I think Burns is one of the division's best. So, not taking too much credit off that.
And Angela Hill's fighting somebody that's minus 400 favorite against her. I feel we should just point that out. We're not picking the fight, but Angela Hill's in for an ass kicking at the hands of Amanda Lemos, according to the odds makers this weekend. Not going to be a great night for her, allegedly. Last one we're picking. A fight between two guys where you're surprised they're still in the UFC. Cub Swanson. Darren Elkins. Cub Swanson coming off of a loss against Giga Chikadze. No shame in that, but lost in 63 seconds. Maybe some shame in that. Darren Elkins, last time we saw him, he's on a 2-fight win streak, beat a guy named Derek Minner back in July. Got himself a performance bonus. Minus 200 for Cub Swanson, plus 170 Darren Elkins, owner of the worst tattoo in MMA, probably. And that's saying something. Mark, who do you got?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. They're both not in super great spots of their career. I'm gonna go with Elkins. I don't feel good about it, but again, we're making some risky plays here. It worked out last week. We'll see if it works out this week. I got a championship. I got Cubby Swanson there. I got him getting it done here.
Fellas, if we ever have you just have a lull in programming and you want to go back to making brackets that we just argue for the shit of it, ugliest MMA tattoos, that's a good bracket.
You know what? We got no
Elkins
card for...
may be a 1 seed, but you know who's a clear 1 seed? Fat melting Johnny Cash. Making you forget fat melted Johnny Cash.
It's an old one. I don't know if the new fans.
You know what, man? We got 4 weeks till the next UFC card stuff on, so we might have to do that. Yeah, that's it. Let me look at Mike's picks. So Marcus, if you don't mind putting these in, but I saw Mike took Daukaus. Okay, Mike took Daukaus, and he took him by decision.
Okay.
He took Bilal. That's where Mike's going for it here. Seems like Bilal. Okay. And then he took Cub Swanson. So I can't wrap my head around what the different results get us. But at the end of this, we'll have a champion some way or another with the tiebreaker.
One way or another, or there'll be some tie that we didn't foresee. Well,
yeah, that's what's going to be.
We have the tiebreaker.
So Mike wins. He'll be tied with Mark to win. He'll have to share it even if he gets it.
I'm telling you, man, we should have just... That should have been it. Mike, sole possession of last place. Me and Mark holding the trophy together.
Hey,
it would not be right to have a card left. Why don't you just
add the Jake Paul fight with the 10-point modifier to make it clean?
That's true.
You know what? As long as if we do that, I want this one to count too, and I want Frank Gore and Darren Williams to be a 10-point modifier too. Well, I can't pick against Frank, and he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose, bad Steph. It's gonna be horrible. Let's just do stuff we like. Steph, you haven't done this in a while. What do you got, buddy?
Oh yeah, you recap the last 3 months or so of stuff.
Whatever you're into. I mean, you can talk about Hawkeye if you don't think you're going to be gone. We have all watched the same amount of Hawkeye.
I'll keep it semi-current because it's just been a lot, and there's a lot to come. This Friday, it's just so much stuff. Caught up on Hawkeye. I think it's great. I've talked to both of you about it on the side. It's top 3 of these Marvel TV shows with room to go to 2 for me. Loki, I put hands above them. I loved WandaVision quite a bit. I just think they fumbled the end a bit. There were some things that the ending was a little messy, a little stuff that annoyed me. So if Hawkeye can be consistent throughout, and it looks like they are. Have you guys talked about it before? Are we in spoiler mode territory? Where are we at?
I mean, we can fucking do it. It's fine. I mean, all I talked about after the first...
It's not even a spoiler. It's speculative, but I feel like it's an educated speculation. It seems like this goddamn show is teasing the F out of Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. And the best thing from those Netflix Marvel shows was Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. People talk about the Marvel villain problem. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin was S tier, right? Like, he was fantastic. So
oddly enough, the Netflix shows did a good job with that. As bad as some of their shows were, they had some good villains in those shows, actually.
Just the pacing, the length, and all that. But so I'm enjoying Hawkeye. I've really recent watch. I love the F out of Arcane. I can't recommend it enough. I think Mark and Christine just started it. As someone who does really appreciate the animation medium, the way I pitch it is I think it's the most revolutionary, it's the biggest step forward in animation since Into the Spider-Verse. Like,
wait, what's Arcane?
Into the Spider-Verse? Huh?
What's Arcane?
Arcane. So this is where the hard sell is, and this is why people just don't care to check it out. It is an animated series on Netflix, but it is basically, my understanding is it deviates from the hard lore, but it is inspired by, think of it as a alternate universe within the comic landscape, right? Similar characters, but maybe the storyline beats vary a little bit. But it's basically a spin-off story of League of Legends, a very old MOBA game that, Bobby, you have certainly never played in your life and certainly have no interest in ever playing in your life.
I've watched this. I've seen people play it on Up, Down, Down. I know what we're talking about here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
League of Legends is both very popular and also the butt of a billion jokes in the gaming community for what it is. So it's the biggest obstacle to why people would want to give it a chance, right? It's this game they have nothing about, have no interest in. But honestly, the show really serves as a launching point unto itself. You really don't need to know anything about League of Legends. You don't have to know a damn thing. They tell you who you need to care about. The story is incredibly well written. The characters are very well fleshed out. So if you're just interested in a fantasy meets steampunk, sci-fi, tech magic, like world, you're in for a good ride, I think. So I think Mark will probably chat about it since he's just started, but that's been one of my big recommends from things I've watched. Coming up this week, it's going to be a hell of a weekend. We have the new Spider-Man coming out. We got Witcher Season 2 coming out. Mm-hmm. Like, we got Jake Paul, the boxing Lord and Savior, coming out with another win. Like, there's a lot of things to do this weekend. You got Christmas coming up, of course, so got to keep that shopping going. Big thing for me this past week, I made it out of a bloodbath that was Ticketmaster. My buddy over here, Bobby, helped me out. Had no idea what he was buying tickets for, but about half an hour into it, he messages me, "Man, I'm invested. I don't even know who these people are, but I'm pissed off." Like, Ticketmaster is just the worst thing in the world, but my favorite K-pop group, Twice, you've heard me mention them. They're going on a world tour, first tour of any kind since the pandemic launched. So I got floor tickets to see them in Oakland. I celebrated. I got a finger tattoo. Twice logo. Mike would have known what it was if he was on, but super excited to see that. And it's coming off of me. I just got back from LA and seeing BTS at SoFi Stadium for their little 4-show stint. Concerts are back. I've missed them. Churches is playing Bill Graham Civic Center on Thursday for $50. I'm highly, highly tempted to go because it's $50, and nothing I spend money on is $50 anymore. But I'm just enjoying music, enjoying things to watch, trying to stay safe out there. But yeah,
right on.
Good times.
And since you mentioned it, before we go to Mark, I'll go last here ultimately. I'm revising my Hawkeye comment because I said after the first episode I did not really enjoy Kate Bishop's character. Not a lot of that has changed necessarily, but I really like the show. I think I'm agreeing with you. It's top 2, 3 for me. With number 1 being Loki and number 2 is either this or WandaVision so far.
Yeah, I think whether you personally like her or not, I've mentioned I don't really like Haley Steinfeld, the actress. So embracing her character, it gets tough for me. But however I feel about that, I can't deny that her character's chemistry with Jeremy Renner's, Clint Barton, it's fantastic. Like,
right.
It doesn't matter if you like, because a lot of people don't like Clint Barton, but a lot of people are liking how this show is going. They're liking the chemistry. They're starting to like Clint, warm up to Clint Barton, right? So there's a lot of people. I think this is probably one of the least anticipated of the Marvel these shows, if based on like the general pulse and people I've talked to. But from the reception I've seen, it seems to have been pretty warmly received. So I think that's a testament to everyone involved on it.
Marcus, what do you got this week?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I will piggyback off what Steph said. I've heard about Arcane for a while, and seeing trailers of it, I definitely could attest to just visually how stunning it is. I remember I learned about League of Legends when I was interning at Destructoid, and they were having some big event. I think they just hit like 1 million concurrent players, and I've never heard about the game, so I looked it up, and I was like, okay, this is like a Dota MOBA kind of knockoff, which was interesting because Dota 2 was coming around at that time. And, I've kind of kept a finger on it and seen just how big it is. They have a big esports event every year. I think it's just called like the World Series or the World Championships or something. That's like a big event or something. But yeah, I hadn't really been super interested in the lore of the video game, or even knew if they had much of anything, because there's not really much story in these MOBA games. It's really like, oh, you pick your hero and they have these abilities and you're fighting these guys, and that's that. But I had known that Riot Games has been kind of making leaps into other genres of games to kind of get people more interested in the franchise or the characters or whatever. They recently came out with a JRPG. They showed a fighting game that a lot of people in the fighting game community are very excited about. They also showed a Metroidvania game. And I saw all the stuff before watching the show, and now me and Christine have watched 4 of the 9 episodes, and I've really been enjoying it. Everything Stefan said is absolutely true. I think if nothing else, it is easy to sell it on its just visual style. If you watch a trailer, you'll be like, oh, this is visually a very interesting show. And then, from that hook, the rest of the show can carry itself. The characters, the voice acting, the performances, the art direction, cinematography, all that stuff is really on point. And I liked what they've done chronologically with the storytelling. I don't want to spoil anything. Steph kind of told me like, oh, this is what they do in these little mini arcs. I was like, oh, I like when shows do that, and finally getting to a point where I see some of that happening. I was like, that's really cool. I like that. I like what they're doing there. And it has made me more interested in the video games that aren't, or of genres that I'm more interested to, dip my toes in. So I think that was a really good pivot. It was really smart. I mean, Riot Games, the developer, is financially extremely well off. And I think this is a good utilization of their money and talent. I have to say, though, I can't not say it. I mean, especially with what's going on with Blizzard and Activision, Riot Games was one of the first developers that kind of got hit with like their frat-like mentality, sexualization in the office and stuff like that. And I don't know. Hopefully that stuff has turned around a little bit, because they were one of the first ones I heard about that was like, this shit's going on with the developer and it's kind of fucked up. And honestly, at that point, I was like, well, I don't care. I mean, I care that there's injustice going on, but I don't care because I'm not personally vested in that game. So, to see them make this pivot, I think is smart from a business standpoint to get people interested in their products. But I'll always remember that. So there's a little caveat there. Other than that, I have started playing a new game I mentioned last week. This indie game called Heavenly Bodies was coming out. It's kind of a weird spin-off of this indie game that came out for Switch and PC like a year ago called Heave Ho, where you're basically using the analog sticks to control 2 arms and you're grabbing onto things and kind of swinging around. It's a fun party game. And Heavenly Bodies kind of takes that, but then puts more of a realistic spin on it. And now you're in space. So you're moving your arms around to grab things and kind of propel yourself and do these activities. And me and Christine played the first mission, which took us about 30 minutes, which is probably maybe longer than it should take, but it is just kind of grappling with the controls and kind of figuring out how to move. in zero gravity when you can just kind of fling yourself. And it's one of those games that I think is very streamer friendly. It would be a very fun party game. I kind of wish it had 4 players, even though that would make it super chaotic because there's just not a lot of space to kind of navigate. You're kind of running into each other. But me and Christine didn't put a ton of time into it, but I really had a fun time playing it. So I really recommend, if you like those kind of physics puzzle games where, you know, kind of half the fun is struggling with the controls and just figuring out how to navigate a space and complete these tasks. It's really interesting. If nothing else, you know, check out if you have a streamer that you like watching, see if they played it. Because I think those videos would be very fun. But yeah, that's all I got this week.
Can I chime in, Mark, because you mentioned it? I didn't know about that JRPG until you just mentioned it. And so I looked it up. It's got pretty good reviews.
Yeah, the guys that made it, it's their devs called, I think it's Airship Syndicate, and they made a JRPG off of the Battle Chasers comic, which was like kind of this really popular flash in the pan in the 90s. If you look up Battle Chasers, you'll probably just recognize some of the characters. I think it was only like a 6-issue arc. But yeah, the guy who did the art for it made this studio. So when I saw this JRPG, I was like, this looks just like the Battle Crashers game. I was like, did Airship Syndicate make this? And they did. And Battle Crashers was a really fun turn-based JRPG. So I expect that's more of the same. So I've been intrigued to test that game out.
$30 is not a hefty thing. It's also on all the things. It's on Switch. And I think that's interesting, though I will say some of the more negative reviews I'm seeing are the Switch-based reviews, and that's not surprising either, just because
it doesn't have the horsepower.
It's not the most optimized platform for games. So I was maybe just going to buy it on Steam, right? Because people can always patch things on PC. But I'm definitely interested in checking out. Metacritic has it as an 83, so...
strong.
Yeah, and one of the reviews, it spoke to me immediately. It was like, I watched Arcane. I didn't know shit about League, and I'm glad to be able to play a story-based game because I don't want to play League. Like
exactly,
that's pretty much where I am. Yeah. I will say, wag of the finger to this one guy on Steam because he's giving it a big old negative review, thumbs down, do not buy. 71 hours played, my dude. You hate the game so much. Why are you playing for 71 hours? I think you had a good old time for $30.
He gave it a good shot. He even hour 69. He's like, they could still turn it around for me. I got to see what happens. He's like, nope, it sucked. Yeah, those reviews are always.
He wanted to give an informed review. He's like, I got to give a very thorough review. All right, so yeah, I'm all caught up on Hawkeye. I was watching that. I started playing Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm about a year and a half late, I think, at least. You guys tell me.
I mean, you made it for the director's cut with the PS5 upgrade, Bob, so you're right on time.
Yeah, I mean, I by the way, I don't know how it looked on the PS4, but holy shit, this game looks beautiful on the PS5. The cutscenes just look like I'm watching a goddamn movie at this point. Game's awesome. It's really fun. I bought it on Black Friday. I hadn't got a chance to play it yet. Played for a couple hours on Sunday. Nice lazy day while we got a torrential downpour out here in the Bay Area, which is still going right now. Not a fun drive home. Game is awesome. It's very much, I don't know, maybe because I played Spider-Man recently, it reminds me of the Spider-Man game, just the way you like have your different gear and you get it in, like you have to level all your different things up and you learn more skills. And I'm sure it's very common in a lot of games to do it like this, but I have Spider-Man in my head because I've been playing it fairly recently. It's awesome. I really like it. I know they're making a movie, apparently. So I look forward to that being a disaster because that's, what are we batting, about a 98% chance with these video game movies being bad. Maybe a TV show seems like a better idea. This game seems long. Just putting that out there. Been playing NBA 2K22. I'm just not good at video games anymore, guys. Like, at all. I was talking to a CTO of the company Mark and I work for, and I mentioned how bad I am at games, and he's like, well, if you don't play online, what's the measuring stick? I'm like, how can you really say you're bad? Like, what's the measuring stick of being bad? I'm like, losing by 20 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is the measuring stick of being bad. Had to lower that difficulty. But
yeah, if you have to lower the difficulty, it is a blow to the ego. Worse are when games program it in where they'll ask you after you fail a number of times, like, you want to tone it down? We're watching you struggle. Are you sure you don't want to make it a little easier?
I've been playing NBA 2K, so when I started Ghost of Tsushima, they're like, what difficulty? And I'm just like, fuck it, easy. Let's just have a good time here. Let me not ruin this for myself off the jump and get stabbed immediately.
See, I also find it condescending on those games, Bob, because sometimes they'll like give you a little blurb about what each difficulty means. Easy. I'm just here for the story.
Yeah.
I don't want any type of challenge or combat. Like, I'm just here
Let
for
me
the
tell you,
cutscenes.
some of these are tough too, and I'm like, I don't know, this is more than the story for me. That guy almost got me. But yeah, I've been playing that. Spider-Man, I might have to wait till next week on that one, but I'm excited to see it, and of course, it was impossible to avoid all leaks before, for months of stuff, but still very excited for Spider-Man. I mean, come on. The Princess of Oakland stars in these movies. We got to support. Just saying. By the way, Jeremy Renner, Niner fan from Modesto, I'm on board with Clint, buddy. I've been on board with Clint for a long time. He's our guy. I went to the opening game at Levi Stadium, and the video was shown. It was him talking. This was peak Avengers, too. He was doing this, right? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And then we started losing, and then they played the video game again at halftime, and I'm like, yeah, fuck you, Hawkeye. We're losing. I don't need this in my life. Other thing I'd recommend, and this is very specific to wrestling fans, about a year and a little bit less than a year ago, we lost Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, John Huber, his government name. He died on December 26th, apparently. And his wife, Amanda Huber, wrote a Players Tribune story just about pretty much their whole relationship. And I got really emotional reading it, of course, because some of the stuff were her son. They have two sons. The one that's old enough to recognize what was going on, little Brody, saying, "Mom, is Dad gonna die?" And she didn't want to answer him, and she said, "Go to bed." It's like, no, is he gonna die? Go to bed. That whole part. And then how the day they wanted to tell him that his dad was gonna die, that she called Big E, the current WWE champion, and called Cody Rhodes. They called him on Christmas Eve and said, "Do you mind driving to Jacksonville to be there when she told Brody that his dad was going to die?" And then the next day on Christmas, both Big E and Cody drove from Atlanta and Tampa respectively to be there for them. And as sad as, that was incredible to read, and as emotional as it was just, I don't know, part of me was just like, man, it's nice that the guy had friends like that. You hear such bad things about that business too, back in the day, and all the horrible stories. It's nice that, I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but you get the impression, the more you hear about the current group of wrestlers, that there's more of it's really more of a family's kind of a cliche thing, but it does seem like there's more of a brotherhood, I know CM Punk famously said he thought the concept of the boys was not true, that they don't really have their back, but he has said recently, the John Huber stuff really made him think otherwise. So if you're into it and, you want to hear about it, it's, it's an emotional read, but she's a good writer, and, it's nice to hear some stories about Brody, a year since his death, and that's on the Players Tribune. But that's really it. I want to see Spider-Man, hopefully this weekend, if not next weekend. This is the last UFC card of the year. Hopefully it's a good one, and hopefully Tyron Woodley, if for no other reason that he's 40 years old, gets that $500,000 knockout bonus. But even if he doesn't, he probably gets a pretty good paycheck here either way. So enjoy your weekend, Tyron. Frank Gore, please don't get knocked out. You guys got anything else? That's all I got, really.
I should mention Naoya Inoue is fighting while you guys are listening. It probably actually already happened because I think it's in Japan. I don't know.
Well, then actually, is it happening Tuesday in Japan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Tuesday night. If it's Tuesday night in Japan.
Yeah, it's like Tuesday morning. I think I saw this morning the main event should happen at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, he's not fighting anyone credible. It should just be it's a Candy Crush. So
didn't he just beat it? Didn't he just beat a real guy though? Aren't we time for? Wasn't he going to get a real guy this time again?
Yeah. They wanted him to fight Nanir. I can't remember his name. He's
Nanito.
Yeah, I think he just fought and won. But
the Filipino cat, Nanito Donaire, right?
Yes. Yeah. They fought in 2019 on my birthday, and that was one of the best boxing matches I've ever seen. But yeah, this is just like a tune-up fight. This is just to get him practice. So I mean, hopefully he's successful, because if he's not, that's going to be quite a downturn. But yeah, I'm always excited to see that guy fight. I'm hoping it's going to be on ESPN. It seems like, I thought that's what I heard earlier, but now it seems unsure. But
and we pay for Plus. Maybe it's on Plus.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm hoping. But yeah, I want to put up.
Also, your boy Eddie Alvarez is fighting this weekend, Mark. Hopefully he wins.
Well,
when they go to one, it's just out of sight, out of mind. That just doesn't
really
exist.
is. Yeah.
It's the time difference is somehow worse. I don't know how they did this.
We chatted about that a little when we were hanging out, right? I think you're saying really all they're hoping for is it's just not a catastrophe of an event. Like,
yeah,
it's not as bad as it possibly can be again.
Oh, when they were on TNT, and just literally everything went wrong in about 12 minutes, and I'm like, wow. Well, maybe you try again next year.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Glad to have Steph back for this show.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk him into joining us a few more times here. Especially if there's no MMA to talk about. We got to do brackets and shit. Let me tell you, we got a month of that probably.
Best League of Legends champion.
We'll be back next week. We're going to see if Mike has got that championship, or Mark defends his title, or I get it back, and it'll be fun. See if Derrick Lewis or Chris Daukaus is the meatiest of men who gave out of this thing, winning. See if Wonderboy Thompson gets that W, or Bilal Muhammad. That'd be huge for him. Be a big win for him.
Yeah, big scope.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if Tyron Woodley got paid. Until then, I was Dr. Law. That was Kid Presentable. That was DJ Mark. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.
See ya.
Cheers.